Man, that feels good, doesn't
It
it?
does, doesn't it? So, let's just kick off this industry update. How are you, Rick?
Doing well. Thank you, sir.
Good. Niali, I don't think we're live streaming, or I don't see us live streaming. FY. Hello, the Braves just won the World Series. Here's what's cool. That's amazing. And what does that mean for our city? What does that mean for real estate? Why is the Braves winning a World Series a big deal to the economy of Atlanta? What do y'all think?
Go for it, Rick.
I mean, the simple answer is it creates more awareness. I mean, the World Series is the pinnacle of pinnacles. It's our, national sport. And I would argue football is a close second, maybe first, depending on your flavor. But at the end of the day, a lot of people saw a lot of exuberance, excitement, and energy in the city. It's a little bit like the Olympics, not quite as worldly, of course, but it's amazing how many people pay attention and clues and cues, show that Atlanta is a really cool place because they do spotlights. They talk about player development. They talk about community events and engagement. There's the ripple effect of that, that whole conversation.
Yeah. Matt, what would you add?
I would just add, the entire city area got spotlighted for the world to see for the first time in a long time. And that can only have positive effects, let alone on the economy and the boost that we got from the 2 weeks of just absolute chaos. That was amazing for the city and for, Cobb County and Fulton County. Great time to get so many people in the one place for a good reason, and media spotlight can't do anything but help the economy in this area.
Absolutely. Yeah. And from a corporate relocation perspective, you don't think about it, but winning sports teams is a big part of people wanting to live in cities. We could make jokes about some other cities. I won't bring Cleveland into it or anything like that, but I mean, there's certainly a thing around being around winning. People want to be around winners. And the city of Atlanta, from the Olympics in the 90s to the previous World Series in the 90s, there was a almost chance at the Super Bowl, right? And they tried to make fun of Falcons yesterday. But at the end of the day, this is an industry update. And you have to understand, sports franchises bring money to economies. And they bring awareness to economies. And winning sports franchises is certainly causes a city to have a heartbeat, a thrive, and people want to live, and they want to live centrally located sometimes to be able to commute to go to a baseball game, to be able to commute to go to a soccer game, a football game, and it certainly affects our real estate business for sure. I don't know that it's necessarily a direct reflection, but I can tell you economically it certainly affects city. Anything else?
I just add that
longer than I have, so
well, it's culturally unifying too, because sporting, the entire world watching in, it's a unifying event. And when your team wins, everyone celebrates. You hug and high five people at the stadium you've never met. You watched it, the Braves parade and the energy of people cheering, and it's something to be proud of as a local, as a resident of Atlanta too. So I think it's unifying, and I think again it crosses and it brings people together from unique backgrounds, and I think that's a gift inside of that experience.
Yeah, and I mean, who's to say you're not going to have somebody you're touring real estate next year, and you go, "Hey, here's where the parade was," or "Here's what you saw on TV when blankety blank happened." Right? It's talking points. But anyway, all right, industry update. You can't not start it off with the Braves winning and a little queen, and we are champions. All right, so let's jump into some numbers. Let me get my screen up here. And while we're doing that, I certainly remind everybody, if you go to the website, therealestatestats.com, I say that, you have to type in www or something smart to get it to work. If not, I'll pull it up.
It's just like Murphy's Law or something going on.
It could be. So there you go. All right.
There we go.
Maybe you have to have the www.
Is it stats or station?
The Real Estate Stats, STATS.com.
Thank you.
And it's a live link. You can always go there. And we track it every Monday, and we track it by county. And obviously, the three big counties are Fulton, DeKalb, and Cobb. And then obviously, Gwinnett's a close fourth. But wherever you sell real estate or looking to compare real estate, here's your numbers, right? So if we're looking at Fulton County first, we had 653 new listings, 420 went pending, and 419 closed. I'm still seeing a trend of inventory starting to build. We expected that this time of year. You can see it in DeKalb County, 392 new listings, 304 pending, 294 closed. Still a good spread on new inventory. Cobb County, 375 new listings, 271 pending, and 292 closed. You'll see that across most of these markets where inventory is starting to build. What do you guys get out of those numbers? What do you feel like? We're in a seasonality time of year where the market's supposed to be a little slower than the blazing hot summer or the early spring market. But I think agents are still taking a lot of listings. We're seeing the closings stay pretty strong. And I just want to keep banging my head against this wall with a singular message that there is a window of time of opportunity for people that don't have $50,000 cash to pay over asking price on hot properties that's going to last between now and probably January 15th. I know y'all think I'm crazy, but I'm telling you, the market's going to heat up again early spring. And that missed opportunity, if you would just call your pipeline now and get them into houses before early spring, they'll have a shot. What would y'all add?
Agent conversations and consulting with my top agents, Brett, say the exact same thing. I think it's re-engaging those conversations that people who were just so burnt out after 12 months of just tough conditions for buyers. If you go back and have those conversations and reevaluate and maybe sit down, there is an opportunity. The fear is if you do not have those conversations now, you're going to be right back in the same bucket in the spring where you are 20, 50, 60, $70,000 overpriced, trying to compete again. So I think those agents who are engaging the conversations will win. Those who are not, a lot of it's going to get passed by, and their clients are going to be in the same bucket they were here in a few months. Just my thoughts.
Agreed. Rick, any wisdom you'd throw at that?
I mean, it's still a local market. I feel like a broken record. So whether it's 6,000 or 600, it's what does your market area look like and how are you getting your unfair share? I do think the trend will favor people who react and move now. I think inventories will probably climb in the spring, but it's probably more likely that more buyers will enter the market than listings because of the lockdown on the ability to expand and grow inventory. I don't see anything coming in February or March that's going to all of a sudden blow up the listing side. But I do see buyers coming out of hibernation. So if I had a buyer, now would be the time because the sellers that are on the market are serious, especially as we approach the holiday season.
You know, and one thing that I find very interesting is the number of houses active under contract and the number of houses that go pending. They don't vary very much. So the pace at which we as a real estate industry are putting houses under contract and houses going pending, it doesn't vary as much as you might think the listings do and the closings do. So it's just an interesting thought process. Like, are we at a capacity around the speed at which we put houses under contract, or could we move a little faster? I find that interesting. I like the word cadence, and maybe it's because at one point in time I rode a Peloton and they used to scream it at me. But cadence is that speed at which we're pedaling, right? Or the speed at which we're selling. Anything you'd add to just that thought process? Because I find it interesting. I don't know what it means outside of it's a pretty consistent number every week.
Yeah, I mean, I'd agree. And we say it this time of year every year. And I feel like especially this year and last year this time, what an opportunity, because agents do shut down this time of year. And it's a great opportunity for your clients to win. And in this market that people have not been winning in a lot, what a better opportunity than when agents take off till the end of New Year's and New Year's Day. So.
100%.
And the psychology of a seller right now is still probably, that those rollover minutes from all the rhetoric and the narrative that everything sells in minutes and days and you're going to get 10 offers. The first time you list your house and you don't get an offer in the first week or two, sellers are going to start. There's a panic feeling that'll naturally just show up. And so as a buyer, the greatest gift you can have as a real estate agent representing a buyer is to be the one on the doorstep on the third, fourth, and fifth week if things do get soft or all of a sudden go quiet. And that does happen circumstantially with a house here and there. And so if you wait around, I agree with you that spring's probably not going to be as likely that that's the occurrence. But I'm telling you now, I bought a townhome 6 months ago in the middle of the summer, and this darn thing sat for 6 weeks with no offers. Lo and behold, the day I decided we want to write an offer, there's 2 other interested parties and another offer, and I ended up having to pay over asking. A week earlier, I would have circumvented that competition and won on my own behalf. But that's the story. When there's 10, the odds of winning are slim. But if there's 2 or 3 interested people, the sooner you get there, the better.
Yeah. I took my Mercedes in because I had a bubble in my tire and they're fixing the tire. And I was joking with the sales guy. And I said, oh, yeah, I'm going to swap it in for one of these G-Wagons, right? And the guy said, oh, well, you're going to pay $100,000 over sticker. And I said, what are you talking about? He said, they're bidding on these cars because there's not enough being made. And they're paying $100,000 more cash over asking price for the G-Wagon Mercedes-Benz SUVs. And I thought, dang, that's just like our industry. Scarcity will drive emotional purchase all day long.
Maybe.
Where somebody falls in love with something and they will pay cash to get it because they want to win, right? And it's not just our industry. It's certainly showing up in the car industry too, right? And somebody told me pickups are the same way. And it's just a part of psychology, but timing's everything. If you got people that they can't play that game, you better be calling them and getting the timing on it as fast as possible. One other resource I want to point out, if you go to our KW Easy button and you click on freebies, under freebies, we have uploaded all the Q3 Chartmaster reports. And if you click on this, it's every one of the Chartmaster reports that you have access to as a real estate professional. So this is even more detailed information than what we're tracking on a weekly basis. This goes pretty deep. And I know most of you know your office usually does a presentation on this, but it's here for you. All right, so I want to pull the screen down and have a conversation. And this conversation is, every now and then, big news hits our industry. And last week, right before the call, we got news that Zillow bails on the iBuyer program. And I'm not sure we had totally processed it. Fast forward a week, I've seen everybody from making fun of Zillow to, yeah, iBuyer business is hard, to what does this mean? What are you taking from this? What do we need to know about this and be able to discuss around Zillow backing out of the iBuyer world? Matt, go.
Yeah, I heard from some smart coaches and mentors, because that is the big news. Everyone, says that we've won and iBuyer's done and it never was going to work and down with Zillow. And I think it's more, realizing that it's not Zillow's one thing, right? This is just part of the things that Zillow did. And it really didn't, it just shows that profit really matters at the end of the day. And I think realizing that this is not the end. I think Zillow is going to pivot to something else in the next 6 months from what we're hearing. That being said, as a real estate agent, I think it's critical to realize that it's time to double down on your relationships more than ever, because iBuyers are not going away. This is not the end of iBuyers, but an extreme opportunity to realize that it has to be done right. They will get better at it, but you still have the opportunity to get in front of your clients and have relationships and be the local expert and win that business every single time. So that was kind of my 3 takeaways. from the Zillow downfall that I don't think a lot of people are talking about.
Yeah.
I think it reinforces the value of local boots on the ground expertise. I think it also illustrates that their model wasn't foolproof based on, computer algorithms and playing the law of averages. We all know as real estate professionals, if you talk to enough people in the marketplace, you'll run into people who've had clients go that direction. And in some cases, they were paying at or above market. And when you factor in that their purpose wasn't for owner occupied quality of life, you pay a little extra for quality of life in a finite opportunity of real estate where there's only one lot like that lot and one house like that house, that might be justifiable. But on mass scale, it's a really risky proposition when it comes to the financial ramifications of carrying costs, liability, and then liquidation costs. And that's where, again, I think it reinforces to some degree. If you remember, there was conversation that they were going to create a national brokerage and compete with us. And I think that's kind of got put on a shelf with their iBuyer program because they couldn't create their own inventory for market presence.
And there's a house down the street from me that's got a Zillow sign in front of it.
Right.
And Zillow, we talk about in the Millionaire Real Estate Investor book around having a buy box. And you should know what your buy box is, and you should buy in your buy box and don't get emotional and buy outside of your buy box. I actually think Zillow bought out of their buy box. I think 100%. Opendoor and some of the other iBuyers are really tight on what their product is. And Zillow wanted to go big, fast, and bought out of their buy box. And I find it interesting. The other thing is, you want to talk about investors freaking out. They went from $100 a share down to $65 a share in a matter of like 2 days, a weekend. Which just shows how volatile some of the real estate stock market really is around valuations of companies and things like that, right? Because, go ahead.
It's consumer confidence that drives that. It's belief that your mission, vision, value statement and your business initiatives align with reported or future earnings. And clearly this was a dent, even though most people sitting back on the sidelines, including us, were like, I don't know how you make money paying those prices. I feel like they had a certain amount of money tagged for the investment to prove the model works. And to their credit, I have to say there's a piece of me that admires that someone in the back room went, hey guys, not going as predicted and planned, wholesale shut off. And they could have played out a different, when they knew it didn't work, it's that red light, green light. They hammered the red light.
Well, and actually, it's good leadership in one sentence and bad leadership in another, right?
How you got there and how you get out of it.
In the progress, but some leader showed up and said, let's move swiftly to correct the problem and take the black eye in the process. So Opendoor acquires a mortgage company named Red Door. This is how they make their money, guys. They're not making it on the purchase of these houses. They're making it on all the money made around the transaction. So now they own a mortgage company, quick pre-approval process for consumers to see products integrated into iBuyer lending services, right? So we'll give you a discounted mortgage if you buy our listing. Or, hey, if you, we'll pay your price on your cash offer if you'll finance your next transaction with us. Right? It's just they're building income streams around the transaction so they can pay full market value for the house. And you need to know this as a real estate professional because this is certainly how we're going to go win against it, right? If you haven't been to kelleroffers.com in a long time, you should go read this. You have access to all this and you should know this about your business, right? So the other thing around Zillow that I think is interesting is CoStar. So CoStar, Rick, what's CoStar?
It's a national listing service for commercial brokers.
For now.
It is, and it's the dominant, it's the big gorilla. They own a massive market share.
They are playing with residential MLS in New York City. And why are they playing with residential MLS in New York City is because New York City is one of the unique markets that didn't actually have a public MLS that fed data to Realtor.com and Zillow and all the above, and they want to protect the data. CoStar, if I'm a commercial broker and I list a building with CoStar, it doesn't go on any third-party website, and it protects that relationship. Well, anyway, CoStar, and you're going to watch this, and my prediction, just so we have it recorded, Niale, is they're going to make a run at residential MLS at some point. But needless to say, they're going head to head, and they're calling out Zillow and saying their rival is Zillow. And I think it's interesting just to watch, because that MLS and data sharing and all the above, everybody's jockeying behind the scenes with venture capital around data. Anything y'all add? It's just my opinion, but I find it interesting around the Zillow conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just be transparent. I think there's going to be a war cry for the profession and the realtor nation in general to, hey, why are you not using CoStar? We're here for you. We're protecting the industry through not syndicating, where obviously it's vice versa and with the Zillow field. So it could get very interesting. I don't think it's going away anytime soon. I think this is a long battle that CoStar wants to take on. And I think it's going to be very interesting to see how it plays out in New York first.
Yep.
Well, typically residential realtors are really good about sharing, and we're also pretty good about reporting our data and information through our MLSs. So even though there's not a national MLS that really dominates from a residential side, the local MLSs do a pretty good job of creating enough data that you can give great feedback and accountability to the profession and helping someone buy or sell real estate. Where CoStar wins is they've got an entire division that does nothing but cold call for data on privately transacted leases and commercial sales that never make the news and never make the MLSs. And so that's where they contend that your $300, $400 a month, you're buying research you couldn't otherwise have to know the nuances of competing in a lease environment.
Yeah. So it's quite interesting. The other talking point we had this week was around builders and building, and I've lost my article. Here it is. Market cap more than doubles for 18 US home builders since COVID-19. I'm confused by this, Rick. We've talked that new construction was in a supply chain problem. They couldn't get lumber. All of a sudden, builders are thriving. If you look at these charts, this was 2020. This is 2021. Look at the difference. Are we missing it? What do I need to know about this? The big builders are surging in construction. And who are the big builders? D.R. Horton, Lennar, NVR, Pulte, Top Build, Toll Brothers, right? And then you can read the article. Miali, I'll put it in the chat. But new construction, I think a lot of agents have taken their eye off the ball a little bit around focused on new construction as an option. And I think new construction is going to be a big part of our business in 2022. Just my prediction. But Atlanta Business Chronicle, I think, agrees with me.
I'd agree. And it's mostly exurbs and suburban markets that are going to see that impact more prevalent just because of the supply side of land. And a lot of what you see in those numbers, I guarantee you, are 3 and 4 year incubated seeds where the land had to be developed and rezoned and purpose built. So it's just showing up, and it's not new news. I mean, we've been climbing, the economy's been moving north since 2012 and 13. So I do think there is a supply side price component, but it may not directly affect inventory. If these bigger companies can hold, warehouse raw materials, and they have access to supply chain differently than the small guy, and they're, more consistent labor force also because they're often employees and not outsourced. So anyway, there are a number of variables. When you look at the numbers, the top 6 are massive corporations that are national. So that I don't, ratio wise are the smaller builders and the local builders. I'm not sure they're enjoying the same percentage gains, but it's not depicted in that graph, so wouldn't be able to know.
Well, if I go back to Market Watch, here's DR Horton, right? And over, let's go last 3 years. This is what Wall Street thinks about DR Horton.
Yeah. Economies of scale, purchase, big, bulk purchasing power.
Yeah.
Consistent. Time is the greatest friend a builder has is time. The ability to create product and move it and sell it. The difference between succeeding and failing might be 3 or 4 months extra on the market for a small builder in an expensive project.
Yeah. I mean, I live in Brookhaven, and it's not production builders, it's tear down and custom build, right? And I mean, I got to tell you that there'll probably be 200 houses built within 3 miles of my house in Brookhaven in 2022 that I can probably just walk to. And that's a small little segment, right? So it's kind of crazy.
It is. And that would argue against my thought that most of it's exurban, suburban. If you've got 200 in a 3-mile radius, do the math on the city. There's a lot of new construction still in town.
Well, but it does speak to what you're saying, Rick. It has everything to do with lot price. So if they can take down a lot for an affordable price, tear the house down and build a new construction, still have a profit margin, they'll do it time and time again. And certain pockets of the city, they do that.
Yeah, and and affordable in Brookhaven is different than affordable in Calhoun. So,
nonetheless, I think new construction is something everybody should pay attention to, because I think it's certainly something that is going to be on the radar in 2022 for sure.
Well, as a real estate professional, if you bring the value of bringing core property and lots and opportunity, you control the conversation or in the conversation for a potential listing, and that's a brilliant place to play.
100%. So I like to start and end on time, gentlemen. I'll give you a little extra on the way out the door just for Mr. Matt Pitts. Here you go, sir.